And welcome back to Mixed Media Live. I am super excited for another episode of Arguing with Reddit. We do these every other week. I find them extremely fun. And what we do is we take some interesting takes that we find on Reddit, on the rest of the internet, whether it's on YouTube or wherever else, and we react to them. Now, Mixed Media is a weekly podcast every Friday at 7 p.m. We're three people occupying different spaces in the art world. Currently, we're missing one of our, compatriots who will be joining us later on in the night. So, since this is a live podcast, the awesome thing is that if you comment, if you want to be part of this discussion, all you have to do is chat, and we respond, we react live, and your comments will be incorporated into the final podcast once this goes out to all podcasting platforms, goes up on YouTube and Rumble. So I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Irving Nestor. I'm a media entrepreneur and filmmaker. I own a company called Ariella Productions. I do a whole bunch of media stuff, and I love it. Who are you, Nathan?
Hey, I am Nathan. I am a software developer, game designer, and 3D modeler.
What we do is we compile, we pick out, like I said, stuff from Reddit and across the internet, and some of these we haven't seen. So I haven't picked out all of the film and media takes myself. Some of them have been picked by Nathan or Ben, and what I'll do is I'll randomly select them, I'll react to them, we'll react to all of them, and what we'll do is we'll respond to those people, after this podcast goes up with a little link to what we thought of their comment. But before we start, how was your week, Nathan?
It's been all right. Pretty busy because school started, internship started, so yeah. Yeah,
and what's your internship, if you want to share?
Yeah, it's at a company called Awesome Inc., which is based in Kentucky. They do it provides services for startups, coding classes.
Yeah, for me, I've had a eventful week actually. Extremely busy, but I got my 3D printer and it's arrived. And I haven't showed you yet, Nathan, anything that's come out of it because I have printed already.
Did you print the boat?
I printed a calibration cat. It's really adorable, but I gave it away. It actually came out pretty perfectly. It amazes me how well it works. I've got right here a little other thing I printed. This right here is a protractor, because guess why? I was like, all right, what's the next thing I'm going to print? Something useful, probably. And I was going to, almost broke my protractor there. I was going to print a little sled for my projector that's at the wrong angle, but I didn't know what angle to make the sled. So I was like, I don't have a protractor, dang it. I was like, wait a second. I can print the protractor to measure the thing to print the right thing. It was a very meta experience. I guess we'll just hop right into it. So I'm going to start with one from gaming. This one says, wow, this person, I hate to roast you for your English, but I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Basically making some indie game that flopped or something like that, right? And this person was saying that, yeah, you shouldn't make it, as an indie developer, you shouldn't make something in an already established genre. So the example in this case is horror, because it's so contested. Do some research and try to find some hole to fill in that you can make your game that, something that hasn't been, I guess, explored before. And then the reply says, yeah, it's a bad decision. But the problem is, even if I went to make a new game on a rare genre that is filled with much game, it's still that marketing the game is the main problem. Making a game on a zero budget marketing is not helpful at all. I made mistakes.
Said grammar doesn't matter.
All right, I'm just going to talk about their first post because I'm not really. So the first post is just saying, to sum it up, that you should not make a game as an indie developer in a genre that's already been contested. I disagree with that. I mean, I think there's some truth to what's being said here. I think that you should make a game that does things that haven't been done before, right? So maybe a new mechanic or something like that. But I don't think that going in a genre that doesn't have people in it that are going for it is necessarily helpful, because that means you also don't have any buyers. There's no one there already that wants the product, or else there'd be games for it. or they might not even know the genre exists because there are no games for it or whatever. I think you can definitely be successful as a horror game indie developer. I'm sure there are many cases of that happening. I understand that just because there are some cases doesn't mean that that's going to be the general thing. I mean, in general, your indie game is not going to be successful. But I think you can avoid that with good marketing, pretty much. And I don't think that the problem with this particular thing was that the genre was a bad genre to pick. My guess, with very limited knowledge, is probably that the marketing wasn't where it should be. Because I think that's the barrier to entry for a lot of indie developers.
Yeah. I think some people need to realize that they need to always have one person in the group, I think, that knows how to market well. And it helps quite a bit, I think. All right. Next one. Oh, I actually put some memes in mine. I found some nice memes to react to in mine. Let's see. So this one's for me. This is not a meme. This is someone's rating system from Letterboxd. This is from r/Letterboxd. It's Letterboxd, for those who don't know, is an app where you can rate films from, half star to 5 stars. Unfortunately, you cannot rate things 0 stars. The way I rate things 0 stars, if I'm just that offended, which is only one movie like that, I will log it as a movie I've watched and then just not rate it. Because it just needs to have that essentially negative score. And the only movie that fits that definition, Nathan, do you know the movie that I'm talking about? Have I told you this?
A 0?
Yeah.
Is it Captain Marvel?
No. Captain Marvel probably has like a 2 or something like that. I mean...
I don't know. What's worse?
What's worse is a movie called Twilight. Twilight is a 0.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, it's let's just say, I think inconceivably abysmal would be too much of a compliment for the film. But this is this person's rating system. For those who are listening on audio only, it's half star is inconceivably abysmal, 1 star is terrible, 1.5 stars is bad, 2 stars is mediocre, 2.5 stars is mid, 3 stars is good, 3.5 stars is great. They're asking what should 4 stars be in the rating star system, and 4.5 stars is non-absolute masterpiece, and it's cut off, but the bottom says 5 stars is absolute masterpiece. Now, I want to take this opportunity to talk about rating things, because I do have a Letterboxd, and you can follow me by searching IGAROX on Letterboxd, and I will come up and you can follow me, see my reviews, see my ratings and whatever, and maybe come on our Discord and roast me if you don't like something I have to say. But the way I like to rate things is I use 2.5 as I think my 2.5 is what I would call mediocre. So mid and mediocre are not that different to me. Mediocre is just it's a film that really half achieves what it wants to achieve. I don't know. Not very good. Not a very good performance. Let's put it that way. So yeah, 2.5 stars I would say is mediocre. 3 stars I would actually say that there is some positive feelings towards the film. So, it was better that I watched it than I did not. Not that necessarily is the best use of my time. There wasn't a better film to watch rather than it, but it wasn't a waste of time. So I'll give some examples, actually. So my average Marvel movie rating is actually 2.5. Most of the time, with most of the films, I never feel offended by the specific movie existing. I'm definitely offended by Disney as a company and what they do, but the movie itself ends up being completely forgettable, which is not good. But it's a little bit different from being negative towards it. 3 is let's see, what's a good 3 movie that I've watched? I think I gave Black Panther a 3. So there you go. Black Panther, I think I gave a 3. So there's a positive feeling towards it. And that positive feeling for Black Panther was this is slightly unique compared to other Marvel movies, and it wasn't the worst. I would say 3.5 is good. That's a solid movie. When I think of a 3.5 movie, I think of a movie that I could complain about, a good amount of things, but honestly, it was a good effort. I felt good about watching that movie. And 4 is when you start to get into that this is now like in the great category. Now we're just differentiating how great it is. 4 is like average great movie, if that makes sense. I think a lot of the classics that people really love end up as 4s for me, which is actually good. Like 4 is a great score. 4.5, I would say, is like, this thing is mind-blowingly good. But there's just something that brings it back, just holds it back, just like a nitpick, or maybe it's just not, for me personally, doesn't get that extra oomph. And 5 is just like, it changes as a filmmaker. It changes me. There's something that about watching that film that just felt transcendent, whether it was just that much fun or it was just that impactful philosophically, or the filmmaking is just that good. Whatever it is, that would be a 5 for me. If you're below 2.5, you're not a good movie. 2, I would say, is you definitely missed the mark there. It's worse than mediocre, which is bad. 2, I would say, is this is a bad movie for sure. So that would be Captain Marvel as a good example. 1.5 is like, why did you make this? This is like not only bad, but like it's like I feel offended for having watched it. 1 star is just worse than that. I don't know. When you get below there, it's just like gradients of bad, and I don't really care as much about gradients of bad as gradients of good, if that makes sense.
Do you have anything in between, like a half and a 2? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's hard to be bad, but not that bad. You know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty sure I do. I can't pull it up in the moment because I don't have it open, but I'm pretty sure I have a 1.5. I don't remember what they are, but they're films that definitely, they're not just forgettable. They're just like wastes of time, or they're offensive in some way, like in the sense that like the filmmakers clearly did not care about what they were making, and they're just like spitting on the love of cinema with their work. But who cares about those people? Now, my average score is actually like something like a 3 or a 3.5. So my average score is like, above average. Like 3.5 as an average score is actually like pretty high given my scoring system. The reason why is because I like to watch good movies. Like, there's this funny thing people say where they're like, well, if you didn't watch bad movies, you wouldn't know what good movies are. And I just disagree with that sentiment. If I watched good movies every single day for the rest of my life, I would still realize what good movies are. I'd be having the time of my life.
Maybe a more accurate thing to say was that you wouldn't have much of an appreciation because, like, oh, this is just normal, like there shouldn't be any other way, But it's like, oh, there's actually like bad things, and I should be appreciated that these good things exist, I guess.
Yeah, there's appreciation that changes, I think. But like that is my rating system. If you want to go check out my Letterboxd, you can go ahead, and I have a lot of spicy takes in terms of ratings on there, and I would love for people to roast us in the Discord. That's ariella.co/mixedmedia/discord, just to roast me for free.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that link existed. Is it straight up just go to redirect to the Discord link or something?
Oh yeah, convenient. ariella.co/mixedmedia/discord. That's what it is. Okay, so this one's for Nathan. So this is what I found. So it says, criticizing a game for having no replay value is extremely dumb and disrespectful to the developers. You already finished the game. What did you expect? A completely new experience every time you play it, no matter what kind of bonuses a game gives with a new Game Plus file. The story and everything else will always be the same. So what do you think about that?
I disagree. I think it depends on how the game is advertised. Like, if the game's advertised to be like, oh, but it's because some games do that they're really replayable, then, there ought to be replayability. Or else it's just false advertising. That's kind of messed up. If the game doesn't say anything about it, then in the advertising it doesn't allude to anything like that, then I don't think it matters, really. Like, I don't think, I guess you couldn't criticize it for having any replay value at that point then. I don't even, is that something people do? They criticize a game for having no replay value? I feel like some people might say, well, this game is better because you can replay it, which is a good thing, is good logic, because you get more hours out of it, even though that's not the whole thing, but you get more hours out of it is a good thing to know when you're getting a game. I think people use it more for comparison. I don't know if, at least personally, I don't know if I hear that a lot, that people are saying, oh, it's a bad game because you can't replay it. I don't know.
I'm not sure, actually. I think for movies, people say that a lot. Well, not a lot, but people will mention that like this has no replay value as a negative. I wrote an article about Inception many months ago on my LinkedIn, and I wrote about how Inception has like not the best replay value like over time. Like first view is great, second view is probably could be just as great, but then third and beyond is like can get really rough because the first half of the movie is like front loaded with like exposition. It's like everything already, so then like your enjoyment of like a good chunk of the film is like really in the dumpster. But does that make Inception a bad movie is what the article's point was. And I was just like, no, it can't. It really can't, because people enjoy that this movie was so important and so enjoyable that it couldn't have achieved what it achieved if it did have high replay value. You just needed that exposition. There was no other way to do it. And so I think it depends, like you said. It really depends. It could be a bonus, like you said. Let's see. So this one is for me. I think it's from Ben. Unfortunately, he's not here to react.
You might want to wait like 4 minutes for when he's coming for this one.
Okay, yeah. Let me skip this one. Oh no. Did you have none this time for me?
Oh yeah, maybe. I think I only added for me and Ben.
All right, let me.
I was like, oh, there's a lot of things here. It's probably fine.
Let me see if I can pull up one of the ones from Reddit from Ben, and then he can explain like one of the other ones. So this one says, Interstellar is absolutely brilliant. For whatever reason, it's become uncool to like Nolan, and every hipster under 35 that is into film loves to talk about how overrated Nolan is, despite the fact that basically every one of his films is excellent. I think it's simply because Nolan is so popular, and this generation loves to hate on things that are popular. Okay, and then they complain that it was dumb to make a film about love.
If people like to hate on things that are popular, it wouldn't be popular, right? It's a whole generation. I think that would destroy the thing, probably, like...
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure that I agree with the premise here, like of like people like to hate on Nolan, because I think Nolan's actually one of the most popular directors, despite the fact that I think he's not necessarily like directing at his best. I still think he's like retained like some of the most like popularity amongst youth, like along with Hans Zimmer. Like him and Hans Zimmer are probably like people our age really love that combination of people. So I'm not sure if I agree with the premise, but is he overrated? That's a good question. I'm not sure what people rate him, though, because while he might have a bunch of fans that are loyal, that doesn't mean that's the average way people feel about him. I'm not sure about that.
I was thinking about where he'd fall on like a rankings list, right? I think he'd be abnormally high because people don't know the names of a lot of directors. So, but Christopher Nolan's like one of the names you definitely know, probably, right? And you've probably seen a movie from him too, so you'd probably fall pretty high, like abnormally high up there, but probably just because of lack of knowing who directs movies that you might watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's definitely much more of a household name to younger people. I think a lot of his movies have like a woe factor about them and like a mind trippiness, and like there's this, I think, culture, like a tiny subculture that really likes movies that are hard to predict, and like they really like getting their mind blown like that, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would say lately he's probably a little bit overrated. I have not been the biggest fan of his latest cohort of films. And I'm actually a Nolan fan, so I don't say that with any malice at all. It's just I feel like he's experimenting, and it's getting really big. Like his movies are getting, or have been, huge. Interstellar is a huge movie. Interstellar is a great movie, by the way. I agree with you. Interstellar is like premium. But in terms of like, Dunkirk and Tenet, I have not been the biggest fan of those films.
I never watched Dunkirk. Does it have like a twist to it? Because it's supposed to be like it doesn't sound like something that would have like some twist to it, right? It's just kind of...
No, it has no twist, but Dunkirk's experiment is that the film is asynchronous. So events don't happen one out of another. They don't unfold one after another like that, which is not new. Obviously, you've had like flashbacks and things like this forever in film, but it doesn't present them like flashbacks. It just kind of simultaneously runs three events which are happening at different paces at the same time, such that their climax happens at the same time, which I think is a cool idea. And that climax of the film is definitely amazing. But the rest of the film, I think, drags, and I'm not sure what that layering really added to the film. I'm not very convinced that it added so much that it warranted doing it that way. I think I gave the movie a 3. So now you know my scale. You can have a reference, either a 3 or so. Like, I really didn't hate the movie. It's definitely a positive experience. It's just compared to Nolan's other stuff, like Interstellar, I'm pretty sure I gave it 4.5. So that's a big difference. Let's go for Nathan again. Oh, this one's a meme. Here, let me put it up. So here's a meme for Nathan to react to. So for those of you who can't see, it says, it's the astronaut meme with the astronaut pointing the gun at the other astronaut. And the astronaut looking at Earth says, "Wait, they're all Lootbox pay-to-win games?" And it's Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. And the guy behind, who's about to shoot him for realizing something he should have never realized, says, "They've always been."
This is so personal. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, like the physical card game, in elementary school, and like aftercare. Is aftercare something people know about? Is that a widely used term?
Maybe. I have no clue.
Aftercare is just like, it's just I'm just at school after school, basically, right? Just say that. But yeah, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh at school, and I remember I played against this one guy named Owen, and he had just cards that are just better than mine. And I was like, it was just like, all right, I mean, this doesn't seem fair.
The thing is, they even tell you which card decks are better, right? It's not even like random grinding chance. Like, you just grind for a few pennies and spend those pennies on, like, you know, some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They literally have like premium decks, and like, you know, I don't think they ever label exactly what's on the inside, but like, you know, I mean, if you're stuck out here buying the basic cards, are you ever once gonna be able to beat someone who has even like maybe one or two, like one tier up above, like, cards? That's pretty pay to win to me.
Yeah, just end up with a stack of Mystic Space Typhoons. And I can think of the picture. I can't think of what it. All right, whatever. But yeah, just the common and basic cards. But yeah, that's a good meme.
What would you rate the meme?
Would I rate the meme out of what? Out of 5?
I don't know. However you want to rate it.
I'll give it a. I mean, the thing is, right, what the meme is talking about, like, because the premise of the astronaut meme, right, is that, like, it's like, oh, you weren't supposed to know that or whatever. It's something that's already kind of known, you know, like, by everybody, pretty much. And one of those blatant cases of pay to win, I guess.
But isn't this pointing out the irony that a lot of people complain about pay to win games, but they love Magic and Pokemon? And I don't know if people love Yu-Gi-Oh or not, but they definitely love Magic and Pokemon.
People are complaining about Lootbox and stuff like that, and it's just like, there are these games that revolve entirely around the Lootbox, like, pretty much. Yeah, I guess in that regard, yeah, it's a pretty good meme, because it's just like, you know, I feel like I wish there'd be like, you know, the Drake template.
Yes, I do.
Template? Right, so yeah, like the one box that's just like pay to win in like X game, just like some game that, you know, has pay to win, and then pay to win in like Magic the Gathering, and Drake's like, oh yeah, like that one instead, you know, it's like.
Yeah, that would point out the irony like better.
That, you know, would be more suitable. But I'll give this a 5 out of 10 for got the right idea, right? It's just the wrong template, I feel, you know. It's definitely something you can make fun of, definitely, for ages.
Since we're waiting for Ben still, I couldn't find anything in particular that I wanted to use for this time, but like, we got to talk about in terms of gaming news. What do you think about Battlefield 2042? It seems to be breaking Reddit right now. I'm actually kind of surprised how much it's like hyped right now, but
it's always too great. The hype is always too great. Dude, like, you know, I'm not saying all Battlefield games are the same, right? But they're kind of very similar, you know? It's not like FIFA the same, where it's like, all right, you just copy pasted, right? You just copy pasted. This is like, it's different, all right? It is potentially worth the buy, right? But like, come on, it's like, I never understand with Battlefield and COD how people like I don't know, maybe it's because I never played COD, but it's like I never get like why certain ones are like way better than other ones. You know what I'm saying? Not like just slightly better. It's like this one's like premium content. This is one of the best games I've ever played, and this one's like one of the worst things I ever laid my eyes on. You know, it's like how does that happen?
I think for COD from I mean I only own one COD game, which is Modern Warfare, the new one. And I think from what I understand for the COD community, I think when they hit the sweet spot of weapon types and balance, I think and map design, I think those are the things that it's like a balance driven like thing, like how well the games are like tuned. And like I feel that when I play COD is like this is all about how well tuned everything in the game is. And so like I think with the old Modern Warfare, I think I've seen people on Reddit say like, you know, or Modern Warfare 2 actually, I think that's the game that like everyone's like that's the best COD ever made. And Modern Warfare 2, I think it has like the right ratio of customization of weapons to the point where you can have very personalized kits and feel very at home with them. Right ratio of that to balance, you know, because it's hard to balance those two things. So that's interesting to me. In Battlefield, I feel like it's not about that. I don't think people. I mean, balance is always important, but I don't think that's what people care about when it comes to Battlefield primarily.
Like, the thing that made like what was the last one? Battlefield 1? Was it 1 or 5? It was 5.
No, 6. Or sorry, 5. You're right.
6.
It's not 6. It was the World War II one.
Yeah. The reason I didn't like that was because there were it was like unrealistic or something, right? With certain cosmetics and stuff like that. And people being like, that's breaking the immersion, which I think I think realism is the wrong word. Immersion is the right word, right? Because like the game will never be realistic, and that's not what's expected. But immersion is what is expected.
I have a problem with that though, because while I do not like what EA DICE is doing in terms of like virtue signaling, because I really do think that's what they're doing, I don't think Battlefield gets immersive when in that way with that kind of. I don't think that kind of thing is what makes Battlefield immersive. Like
I think the thing are you referring to female soldiers that shouldn't exist? Based on I don't think that
doesn't bother me on like a conceptual level.
That part I think is the part that it really isn't like okay. That's like I get what you're saying, right? Yeah, I get like okay, this virtual signaling is like it's kind of whack, right? But in terms of the immersion, it's like I'm not gonna notice probably, you know.
Yeah, it really doesn't bother me in that way.
Is there a female soldier in the campaign? Because then you might notice it in like a cutscene, for example. And
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's one of the big deals is that in the campaigns there are like it's like they make a big deal out of. I think in Battlefield 1 actually is where they made the biggest deal out of female soldiers during World War I, and it's not based off of anything real. They just kind of make it up, and like. To me, I'm just like, do I care about a Battlefield campaign though? To begin with,
right? It's like, who buys a Battlefield game is like, yeah, this campaign, ooh, that's premium. It's like a very, very, very side thing, you know. Not that you shouldn't want it to improve, but I mean, I feel like it's like there are definitely bigger issues, potentially even within Battlefield to think about, you know. I don't know, it seems like a pretty minor thing to me. But,
I mean, like you can have ridiculous cosmetics in like older Battlefield games too, where like I don't know, your military outfit doesn't match your side. Like if you're Russian, like you're wearing or you're Russian, and clearly on this map, there's no way for you to be a naval unit, but you're wearing like a clearly like seafaring like outfit. I mean, you could complain about that too if you wanted to, but that's not the kind of thing that I don't think.
Yeah, you could just straight up change the kind of camo you have, right? To like camo that would not make sense for like where you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly camo design just to look cool too, like not to be like useful. Like, I mean, I don't know. That's Battlefield to me is immersive in its design, its art direction, its graphics fidelity, and its sound is probably the most underrated part about like Battlefield immersion. Like the sound design in Battlefield is nuts. It sounds like no other game I've ever heard. COD doesn't not even close. Like even modern COD doesn't even come close to like old Battlefield games in sound, in my opinion. I mean, the game's kind of like...
Is there a sound design video game award? Where is it?
There's no sound design video game award?
I don't recall them winning. No, there's a sound. Sorry, there is a sound design. I don't recall Battlefield winning a sound design award, but there is a sound design award if I recall correctly.
Okay, gotcha. I honestly think they would win every single time because, like, it's just like, you know, and maybe you shouldn't give it to them every single time, but like in terms of like the quality of output, it's ridiculous. Like even small things too. Like you get surprised sometimes by new sounds you've never heard before. If you have headphones on and you're like, especially if you're walking around alone and you didn't realize like. And like the reactivity of things like sound wise in Battlefields is crazy. I've seen images from the game engine from like the logic for sounds playing, and I'm like, that's crazy. I don't get it. You know, even just soldiers speaking, like they say things sometimes that are so specific to the scenario that I'm like, what? Like I've never heard any soldier say that spontaneously, you know, in the middle of a match. And like, you know, maybe like, you know, that happens in 1% of matches because the circumstance is so like minute, you know. That's a lot of effort.
I was talking about this with someone else, Battlefield trailer, and they're talking about sound design, and actually, and then yeah, I was just talking about, I was like, the call outs though are pretty insane.
yeah, they're pretty cool. So actually, when it comes to campaigns, so they said in 2042 that there's not going to be a campaign. And people are losing their minds, man. Like, this is the biggest controversy around 2042 in terms of what people are mad about. It's the fact that it has no campaign. And you know what the biggest thing is they're saying the reason why is because it's so expensive. They're saying $70 is what the price point is on console. I think it's $60 on PC. $70 on console is too much to pay for a game that does not have a campaign. So
that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is. Do you know how many people would have bought it for $70 and never played the campaign? Come on, no, come on. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't play the game. I don't play the campaign to Battlefield games when I get them. Because
you know why? Because it's probably like 10 times more fun to hop into multiplayer because that's where 100 times more development time was put into. You know. I think DICE probably did a good thing here. I was like, well, there's not really a reason for this. Like, it's just a lot of money, it's a lot of expense, and we could hopefully they put it, you know, back into the game or something. Or if they saved it, that's cool too. I really don't care. Like, I
agree.
Like, this is a lot of expense for a minimal game.
I feel like it's just controversy. Like, you know, people like to be controversial about, you know, stuff like that, and it's like, all right. I mean, like, I don't think I've ever once like got hyped over a Battlefield game because of its campaign. And in fact, when they release a trailer for the campaign, I'm usually like, boo, give me more gameplay footage because I want to know how the game is actually like that I'll be spending like hours and hours and hours actually playing.
If you want a campaign, go play another game. Like, this is not the job of this game. This game is not the one. It could be their job, right? They could spend their time make a great campaign, but they don't. They never have, you know? Like, it's just better if they just don't do it at all. There's no purpose for it.
I wouldn't be surprised too if they have the stats as to hours spent on multiplayer versus hours spent on campaign, and it's just like
there's definitely people who have hundreds of hours in multiplayer are gonna have like they might have completed the campaign once. There's no way you're playing a Battlefield campaign. There's no way anybody's replaying a Battlefield campaign. Maybe twice at most. I don't know. I heard a lot of people enjoyed the Battlefield 1 campaign, I think, which surprised me. But other than that, I don't know. I never heard anyone go, wow, I really love these This is why I play Battlefield. I play for the campaign.
I've seen people say that they like the Battlefield 3 campaign. And I don't get it because to me, it's just a demonstration of the engine. It's a beautiful, because it looks even better than multiplayer, which is, you know, achievable because it's single player only, and so whatever they do, they definitely crank up the graphical fidelity, and they definitely put a lot of effort into the art and whatever. There's a specific moment I can think of that stays in my mind, but almost all of the game I think is extremely forgettable. Like in terms of the landscape of single player games, like you should probably if you like single player, you should probably spend money on a game that is actually really good at single player.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't the one.
Yeah, but I've seen people say some things like, "Oh, as long as it has one, it doesn't have to be good. I just want it, just in concept to pay for that much for a game and not have it just hurts me too much."
I don't know, man. Like, you're really about to get a couple dozen hours though, at least, right? Like, should you really be complaining about that? I don't know. Also, you could also just not buy the game.
Yeah,
that would solve your issues. Spend it on a game with a campaign, maybe COD. Do that.
Oh yeah, I will say the COD. I don't actually. A lot of people like the COD campaigns. The only one I've played is the current Modern Warfare one. I don't know if that's a reproduction or not. I don't think it is, but
I don't know because it's a remastered version, so I don't.
No, it's not remastered. Like, I'm gonna really I'm sure all the COD fans are like, "You guys are stupid." And yes, I don't know much about COD, so yeah, but I'm pretty sure the current Modern Warfare version is not supposed to be a remastered version. It's just like a remaking of that genre of that game, like back in the same time period. Maybe some of the characters reappear and stuff like that, but I don't think it's supposed to be a remaster. They have an MW2 remastered version already. Even in COD, like, it's a much longer campaign in COD. I will say that because I have almost completed the Modern Warfare campaign. It's a lot longer, but is it that much better than Battlefield's campaign? I mean, it still feels like the game is mostly about multiplayer, let's be real. So I know some people like the Modern Warfare 2 campaign a lot, but I'm not seeing it, in terms of like mind-blowing, FPS experience in single player. Crisis 2 campaign, I remember liking that a lot better than I like these campaigns. So
that's like more the point of Crisis, which is the campaign.
Yeah, Crisis has like the whole story, built around its universe that's like, fairly involved, whereas like Battlefield has no story built around its universe, and COD has like more of that, but like I don't think that's the point. I don't know where Ben is, but let's do a
real quick before we end this topic. I am seeing on Reddit though, people do ask, but where is Bad Company 3? It's just like, it's a great question.
Okay, but really though, actually, like, I don't know how many people have to beg DICE. Like, I don't understand though. Is it like is this the Half-Life 3 syndrome starting to like crop around where like there's nothing they could make that would make people happy at this point because they let it sit too long?
By the way, I don't know if I'm remembering this wrong, but I believe Half-Life 3 is in the works. Or there was something. There's something that was like, but it wasn't. I don't think it's Portal 3. There's something that Valve is making that like, it's part of the meme, and then they actually decided that they're gonna start making it. So I think it's Half-Life 3. But,
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now give me Portal 3 too while you're at it. It's really insane how I feel like Portal's like the development cost to like gains ratio is probably ridiculous for Portal because like the biggest expense is definitely level design. The biggest difficulty is level design. I mean, the art direction lends itself to like not that bad art expenses and whatever. But anyway, come on, guys, Bad Company 3. It's the same sort of. I feel like shooters in that sort of time period of the world just are better. I don't know. Like, I mean, Modern Warfare 2, right? Is like it's the same kind of like mostly analog, but like not World War II, that Cold War or Cold War Plus sort of like armaments and things like that. The Abrams tank era. I feel like that's like just a premium spot for like shooters because you have a lot of gadgets, but they're all analog, and like shooters are analog by nature. Like that's what you're doing most of the time is like aiming in like a sort of analog fashion, and I just love the style in Bad Company of total destruction. I miss that. I haven't seen that in a while. It's not realistic for sure. Well, no, actually, that's not true. In Bad Company, it's mostly placed in like like villages and things like out in like rural areas. It's not Bad Company 2 didn't really have like cities or anything like that. It is realistic to have like whole maps leveled, right? Because like these are like normal houses that are getting like bombed and things, and of course you can level those in real life. I loved the map evolution of Bad Company 2, and I just kind of want a Battlefield game that's like that. That just the map evolves so rapidly and so crazily, and nowhere safe, sort of like crazy chaotic environment. I don't know. Make that, DICE, please.
I was about to say, what if they do that in 2042, but I don't think so, because they showed off like Levolutions. So I was like, all right, this sounds like the compromise here. We get Levolutions, we don't get total destruction.
The tornado thing was weird. I'm not sure what to even think of that. I was like,
yeah. So the idea of the tornado, that's, I assume, a Levolution comes through every time. Like it's coming. It's a very strange feeling,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But maybe also, it's.
Are you able to expedite like Levolutions normally? Like, you can't expedite a tornado happening, right?
In not Bad Company. In Battlefield 3, I believe that Levolution. Sorry, no, there were no Levolutions in Battlefield 3. But the thing that
wasn't there that thing falling on.
Yeah, that's only on.
I don't know what it's called. I know exactly what it looks like though.
Yeah, it's a pretty big map. It's one of the bigger maps.
64-player map.
Yeah. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head, but
Large Conquest.
Yeah, Large Conquest. But at the end of the match, that thing falls. If you're playing Rush, I believe that's one of the rush points, and it'll fall based off of if it's exploded or not. But that's not actually part of the gameplay. That same map comes into Battlefield 4. That same map comes in Battlefield 4, and I'm pretty sure that map was the inspiration for Levolution that happened in Battlefield 4. And so that map has actual Levolution where you can destroy the pylons or whatever, and then the whole thing comes tumbling down in match and changes the map, essentially. And that was kind of Battlefield 4's like flavor, Levolution on every map sort of thing, which is actually pretty cool. And it's cool that's coming back as long as they're good Levolutions. I don't know. It's map design, good map design. I would like to see Rush become more prominent in Battlefield again, because it's been very conquest heavy, and I feel like Rush makes more sense in terms of Battlefield's legacy, like where it came from, because Rush used to be like the game mode.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, and with its class-based stuff before, it made more sense. But now they're removing classes, I think is my understanding.
What classes?
They're removing classes, I think, or like weapons aren't locked to classes. Like, medic versus support versus like sniper or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so actually, before I pull up the next thing, I think I see there's someone who is watching right now. And before we scurry away, hello, how are you doing? You can you can join our conversation. Like, we want to talk with more people. I think we all agree. We all say this so much on the Discord. If we could just get a little bit more interaction live, I think that this podcast would blow up, because we want to talk to people and we love bringing in outside opinions. So if you've got your own hot take, you've got your opinion on Battlefield, whatever, we'll stop whatever we're doing and we'll engage with you. So I just wanted to say that before we jump to the next topic. I don't think Ben is in our Skype yet. No. Okay. Let me pull up the next one. And yeah, you're not interrupting by doing so. Don't worry. We will incorporate you seamlessly.
One person must be feeling extra special.
Yeah. Also, if you chat, then we can give you whiteboard privileges, so that on the right of the screen, if you ask for it, you can doodle, draw, whatever. Let's see if I can write on it. There you go. That right there. We allow people who want access to go ahead and doodle, draw, whatever. Have fun while we're talking. But anyway, so let's pull up a film and media hot take. So here's an old one. I think this comes from Nathan. It says, unpopular opinion, Aladdin is the worst Disney film.
I don't remember it for me. I think it could have, but like it was a long time ago. So
yeah. Now, if you mean of the Disney princess films, that would make more sense to me, because Disney is a big company that's made a lot of movies. A lot of movies. I mean, they make the Marvel movies, They make the Star Wars movies, the modern ones, I should say. They now own 20th Century Fox, so they make all those franchise movies as well. So worst period is that's a high bar, you know? And Aladdin as the worst out of their entire catalog? No, not even close. Out of the princess movies, I still disagree. Not even close. Like, I think Aladdin actually...
What do you think is the worst princess movie?
I don't remember them all, to be honest. If I could, from my childhood memory, I feel like I did not like Sleeping Beauty. That's the one I'm thinking about. I did not like Sleeping Beauty. That's one of the older ones, too. I thought it was really boring. I haven't watched that film in, maybe, how old am I? 25? It might be, nearing on 2 decades. So, I don't know if I would say the same thing today. But I do know Aladdin, and I don't think that's anywhere close. I mean, come on. All the musical elements of that movie are extremely entertaining, even if they're not, moving. They're entertaining. The animation's super entertaining. Robin Williams has a great role as the genie. And I just think it's a classic. I mean, I just really can't get mad at it. I don't even think it's overhyped, honestly. I think it's just a good film. I haven't rated it because I haven't seen it since I started my Letterboxd, but I have a feeling it would be something like a 3.5. Just a solid movie, just a good movie. I don't know how you could knock it so much. In terms of Disney overall worst movies, I mean, Captain Marvel's obviously well worse than Aladdin. I mean, come on.
I think Disney movie that's bad would be worse, right? Because we gave Aladdin a 3.5.
Exactly. I can't even think of what Disney has made so much that I couldn't even begin to scrape at what's the worst. I'd have to look at my catalog of rated films and see what I rated the worst out of them all. But they've made some doozies. Let's see. So let's do a gaming hot take now. Okay, this one's a news item. So this is from me. And I found this on r/gaming news, but this is the actual article that was linked. And it says, Xbox wants to release a game every 3 months. And what they mean by this, not release a game on their platform every 3 months, they mean a first-party game every 3 months. So I assume what this means is they want to use their the game development studios that they own, like the recently acquired Bethesda, and try to make it so that they're constantly putting out games. And the article notes that this is particularly related to Xbox Game Pass and xCloud. I'm not sure what xCloud is, to be fair.
xCloud is it's like Stadia.
Oh, I didn't know Microsoft was trying to do that. Interesting.
All right, but I believe Xbox allows specifically Xbox streaming. You can stream your Xbox to whatever device. I could be wrong. Some streaming service that works somehow.
Interesting. It doesn't seem like any of those services are very well liked, so I guess good luck. And so there's a quote in here I remember being interesting. It says, I think this is from Microsoft. It's from Xbox Chief Financial Officer Tim Stewart. He says, in order to keep growing, we need to expand our audience beyond console to new demographics and geographies we haven't reached before and provide meaningful value for the audience to choose to spend their money with us. And I thought it was interesting that he said beyond console. I thought that was interesting too. Yeah.
What I thought was that the Game Pass and Microsoft and stuff like that was a ploy to get people to use the Xbox. So that's interesting. Now I know it's quite the opposite. It's literally trying to get away from the Xbox.
That's weird. I don't get
explain
it.
Why the Game Pass is also on PC, I guess, because the idea is not necessarily just for Xbox. Then it makes you wonder if they take an L on just consoles. Are they not confident enough to combat Nintendo and PlayStation, or is that they think they can just do fine while waging a war on a new front? It's interesting. Especially every 3 months thing. I'm just wondering how.
All right, it seems so ambitious, but I'm not sure how many studios they own at this point. Maybe they can do it if they really force it.
Oh, they did buy 3. Let's say Microsoft bought 3, but they are Microsoft.
Yeah.
To be clear, you could make a game every 3 months if it's a very small game.
I don't think that's what they would be trying to do, though.
Yeah, it is unlike these giants to make small games. They tend to be like go big or go home, which I mean I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing, but whatever. That's just how it is. So a game, right? If we're talking a game could take years, I mean, 1 year is pretty short for a game of large scale.
Even
So
COD
let's
doesn't
just say that
develop on a 1 year cycle actually because they have 2 development studios.
exactly.
Like
As I was thinking COD, I was like, that's not even correct. But they used to do, didn't it used to be one studio? Or was it?
it used to be
always?
one studio. I think their development cycle wasn't once a year though.
Mm,
And then when they decided to go once a year, they like merged like
yeah.
2 entities.
So we don't know what size they're going with the games. But let's say like a two year game for whatever they're trying to do, right? Like to get that to be every 3 months, you need to right. There's 4 3 month periods within a year, which means it'd be 3 divided by the 2 years, right? That's how you figure out how many studios you need. Like how many times you can fit 3 months into 2 years.
It would be 4 studios, right? You would need?
No, because that's what I thought at first. But then if you actually have 4 studios, there's going to be a random blank gap where they're all still making things. Yeah, you stagger them by 3 months, right? They'll release in 3 months, and then they'll all have to go back to work again. Well, I'm dumb. Maybe I just... right?
But, yeah.
Developer one finish it. Well, it's going to be hard to do without the whiteboard. Let me hop on that. Let me hop on that whiteboard. All right, here's our timeline. It goes like that. This is the endpoints, right? Now, here we have time at 0, right? Which is just say present, right? And then they need to make a game every 3 months, which looks, well, yeah.
It's really funny that we're doing this. Like,
let's say the first studio finishes at time 0. We have a game here, right? Next studio finishes a game here. Next studio finishes a game here. Next studio finishes a game here. That's 4, right?
Right.
But then the one that finished here isn't done yet. They'll have to be like all the way somewhere here to finish.
Then you need 8 studios, I think.
You need a lot of studios.
You need a full-on 8 studios then, or at least yeah, because it takes at least 2 years to develop, at least, right? Which I think 2 years is already like a pretty brutal development cycle, from what I understand.
Depending on the size of the game, but yeah, making an assumption on the size, yeah.
For a COD, like I mean, it's like not even as bad because it's not like they make like gigantic engine, like or like I mean, a lot of the maps they just get like refreshed, like I mean,
Nuketown number 74.
Yeah, it's not. It makes a lot more sense for COD to be able to pull off that development cycle, but like obviously Battlefield doesn't even attempt to do every 2 years because like they changed the game too much. I don't get how they're gonna do this.
I don't get it. So these must be small. These have to be small games, right? But they have to be mixing the size, right? There's no way. What to say if they own FIFA? Then I mean that's like one a year already.
Okay. Oh wait, maybe you can fill out a lot of them just by their current exclusives that they already have. So like that do release yearly. So FIFA's one. Oh, that is EA. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, if that was Xbox, that make a lot of sense because you have all the sports games. And then those just go every year because they really aren't that different.
Maybe he's talking about exclusives, not just things made by. It says first party in the article. That's the confusing part.
It's not a timeline anymore.
It does say first party, if I remember in the article. Yeah, to release a new first party game every 3 months. That sounds like Xbox owned entities are making a new game every 3 months.
What else would first party mean? Well, it says, it'll try to acquire new studios. Oh, okay.
Wow, they're really going to acquire a lot of studios then?
They're going to try to buy like 8 studios, or to total up to 8, to lock them into it. Okay, let me talk about something here. I need to talk about something here. I need a rant, right? You should not make promises like this on the time that you'll release games. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because so the way I watched the video on this, and the way I said it made a lot of sense to me. All credit goes to the YouTube channel Continuous Delivery, right? If you're making a game, right, the things that you need to constrain something, right? So there are a lot of parameters that you can set for yourself, right? How long is this going to take, and what's the scope are the 2 big ones, right? So the scope being, what do we need to accomplish? Like, what features do we need to have in this thing for this to be a game that we can release? If you tie down both the scope and the time. So you say, within 2 years, we'll have X, Y, and Z features, right? Well,
right.
Programming works in a way where you don't know how long it'll take to make those features. So what you've said is, I'm just taking a guess. We might miss the deadline, but I've locked this into this. I've literally just taken a gamble. Like, there's no like, I've taken a gamble and like I've made it public. I've given people expectations, and I have no clue if I can actually live up to those expectations. I told them what they're gonna get, and I told them when. This is a bad idea. What you should do is one or the other. You should either tell people when it'll happen or what they'll get, right? For example, you say, you have XYZ feature, but this is what Apple does. Apple does not release, or does not tell you like a year in advance this thing's coming out. They do it when it's done. When it's done, they do the marketing, or maybe a little before it's done, when they can accurately pinpoint when this thing will be completed. They do the marketing, and guess what? You never have like Apple product delays, right? Because that just makes sense. Or you can do the other way around, where you say, we'll have this game by this time, but the features aren't guaranteed. This is kind of a sketchy thing, because
you could make it sound, you could say a lot of things and then say, well, I said, whatever we get done gets done.
This is so you could tell your players, we don't really know the entire thing, but this is what we plan or whatever, and then we'll have it done by this time. The problem is you just might end up with a bad game, right? Which is, okay, I'll say that constraining time is probably the worst way, because in this case, make a bad game. In the case that you constrain the scope and you say you must finish these things, you can make a good game, because you will finish, because there's no time constraint. But the problem is motivating your workers to continue, because there's no like deadline anymore. It's kind of a.
But why is this? Why is this so different from the rest of the tech world, though? Like other programming.
This is a problem in the rest of the tech world. They will sometimes constrain both time and scope, and that's not a good idea.
Well, so like I worked at a defense contractor before, right? It was very funny because things move very slowly, like you were saying, unless like there's like a hard deadline and required features. If there's a presentation that needs to happen in a week, people are going to be working their butts off, and funnily enough, usually in the same period of time. It's not like they like work an extra 40 hours or anything like that. Maybe they'll work an extra half hour or something like that, but they'll get somehow 3 times the work that they normally get done because it's a motivating factor. I don't get how. Maybe it's a thing with like big tech, because in defense it makes sense because of the way contracting works. The money is already given up front, which is kind of a funny thing. For Google and Facebook and Apple, and those kinds of companies, maybe it doesn't matter, because they have so much money that slow-paced development is like not the worst thing in the world. Like I don't get how they don't have the same culture as like gaming companies, where they're like driving their workers like crazy.
Maybe internal deadlines might work. So I think the continuous delivery is the name of a channel, but it's also the name of a sort of doctrine of how you should program. Continuous delivery is not programming specific. I think it's more like software. So this would apply to like marketers and stuff like that too for software. There's a part of it about doing things, continuous integration, which is essentially doing things in the smallest steps possible, setting small like micro deadlines essentially for small
like
features.
Agile.
Like the way to go. What'd you say?
Like Agile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Agile, we started transitioning to Agile at my defense company that I used to work at. It really did change. Like, I was skeptical at first because I was like, it actually works like pretty darn well. I'm not going to lie, because what it does is it sets daily expectations where like you make a promise, I'm going to work on this today. Then the next day they're going to say, well, how did working on X go? And if you say, well, X didn't, I don't even have anything to say about it, you may not have actually completed what you wanted to, right? But like, at least you have something to say about it usually. Like, I'm waiting on IT to help me with this thing, and so in the meantime, I did this instead. So that becomes like the Agile environment. So, but do gaming studios not do sort of like Agile? I'm sure they're transitioning to it as well, like everyone else.
Hopefully, but I think we found that a lot of gaming studios are just doo-doo, right? They just don't know what to do. At least in the programming department. Cough Cyberpunk 2077. Like, what was that? Come on. Like, that really just gives me, like, my confidence levels in the gaming industry just decrease, right? It's like, how did a big company like that have bugs that you could literally find by just, like, floating objects? Like, just take the Y value and decrease it, right? Like, it's not like
And they delayed the game over and over and over again.
It took 8 years. But what they did was they kept confining time over and over and over again. They said, no, this time, no, this time. And in the end, they finally confined it for good. How about just say, we don't know? It'll come out when it's ready, you know? We'll get there when we get there.
Well, like for like Cyberpunk, the moment the hype train started, I was like, no, this is going to be a bad game. I knew it. There's something about it. I knew a lot of people were like, well, I trust CD Projekt Red. I'm like, I get that. It makes sense to trust people who have a great track record. But, like, I mean...
By the way, I'm pretty sure The Witcher was also buggy, but not as buggy. So,
yeah, but I do remember that. The Witcher is considered a buggy game. What is it?
Also, the story for The Witcher was not written by them, right? It's already an existent story.
That's what I was going to say.
Have expectations on their story generation.
Yeah, my understanding was always that with The Witcher, like, people really love the characters in the story. A game like Cyberpunk is kind of the same thing, but if you don't have your writing down, it's the same thing as a movie. Your writing is the backbone. Okay, the director can change things on the fly on set, but let's just take that variable out, right? And let's say the director's contractually obligated to make it like 90% like the script, essentially. It doesn't matter if you have the best DPs, doesn't matter if you have... you're like literally every cast member down to all the extras are Oscar-winning actors. If your script is like, hello, my name is, and that's how your script is written, guess what? The movie's still garbage, you know? Like, it's still a trash movie. You will still get a half-star movie out of it. Doesn't matter if, you know, you have Roger Deakins and, like, you know, Steven Spielberg and, like, you know, Brad Pitt and whoever else. And there are actually examples of this, too. If you're going to make a story-driven game, it stands to reason that it would be, like, the same thing. If your script is garbage, it doesn't matter what kind of technology you're deploying, what kind of mechanics you have, right? Like, it's still a story-driven game. So, yeah, I don't even get... I'm sorry to all those who really hyped on the game. I've never seen anything come out of the development studio that got me so as excited as everyone else. It didn't even get me, like, excited, period. Like, I was like, this is not a game I would buy.
Trailer, it just looks mild.
Like, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what people... Do you know what people are ranting and raving about?
Dude, I asked someone on Discord. I was like, I don't really get the hype. What is it about? I'm pretty sure you just said... I don't know. And he was like, oh, no, I asked, what's the gameplay like? He says, I don't really know, or something like that. I was like, okay, come on. What have we come to? What has happened? Are we so starved for good content that this is what we're doing? We're groveling over this studio?
Maybe that's what it is, though. Like, people are like, they just don't have anything good to play, and they're like, wow,
there's definitely good things to play. They're just like, not in the forefront. They're not marketed better. It's just hard because they're like smaller or they're not marketing well or whatever. You know, I can definitely go on Steam and find 7,000 good games. You can find good games in my sleep. You know, it's really it's not a hard thing to do. Finding good games in certain in AAA area is now harder, right? Because budget is good in some cases, right, to make things look nicer or whatever. And then that you can't just find. That's not like something.
But some people really they can't live without the AAA sort of experience. You know, like they really. It's kind of like blockbusters almost. You know, it's like they need that level of expenditure for those explosions and that. You know, like they just need that. I don't think that's bad. It's just like the AAA scene is just not doing a good job right now. That's just. I mean, what is the last good AAA game to come out that people were satisfied with or that you liked? Like I'm not sure.
People were satisfied with. I feel okay. There are a lot, right? Especially like Nintendo games, right? Those tend to have just high reviews.
Actually, but outside of Nintendo, because I feel like Nintendo's a little bit different. AAA shooters or AAA like
Doom was received well. That's kind of older, not older. I mean, relatively speaking, for like there's probably more recent games that have had a great success and acclaim. Ghost of Tsushima, for example. But yeah, there's definitely a lot. It's just like.
So then, I think the moral of the story is go pay for those games so that those developers get money and they can make more good games because they clearly understand how to do it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like people... I don't understand why people are so upset over Cyberpunk. It's like, you pre-ordered the game. That's on you. Like, you gave them money before they were finished.
You really weren't fooled in any way. Like, okay, let's be real. Like, you're fooled. Okay, you're probably fooled in the fact that you didn't expect a buggy game, right? That's pretty scummy, right? Because then, like, it's not like you can see you can't see bugs in trailers, right? They're not going to show those to you, right? That's pretty bad. Like they should have just delayed the release or whatever. But certain things you can't be upset about, like gameplay and stuff like that, right? Because they didn't really show it in the in the trailer, and you watched it and you decided, well, based on this, I'm gonna purchase it. I mean, that's just on you.
Yeah,
Unless
I agree.
you feel that there was some misleading part about the gameplay of the show, something maybe that they portray as something you could do that you couldn't do, for example, or something.
I just feel like, as a whole, with art consumption, I feel like, especially in the United States, I feel like we need to grow up a little bit, you know? Like, it's like we feel entitled for some reason to entertainment and art, and it's like weird to me. It's like if you buy like a really crappy item off of Amazon that was $2 and had bad reviews, you're the fool, right? Like, I don't know what to say. Or like if you pre-ordered, like, so if you bought something on Kickstarter, right? And maybe actually this isn't an art only thing, because I think people do complain about Kickstarters and things like that, you know? So maybe we just need to grow up with our consumption in general, and like maybe not be so, guess, naive is the best word I can think of. Like, I mean, people like pay back the most funny Kickstarters sometimes, and they really do expect these people, like, there's some Kickstarters where the manufacturing is difficult. Like, manufacturing is hard, like, notoriously. Think about the idea of spooling up a factory. Just think about all that's involved in building, like buying the land, putting a factory there, going through all the regulation, then buying the machines, then conforming the machines to all the purposes that you need, then the materials. I mean, and sometimes it's promised within like a year. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way, you know? But it's like people buy into it anyway, and they're really surprised. And like some of these people are like grown adults, and I'm like, do you really not know how the real world works? Like, do you not know what it takes to make a product? Maybe you just don't. I don't know. I don't get it, but it's wild. We be wild out here in the United States. Anything else? Is there any gaming news this week or anything like that? Or
you can get Discord Nitro for free from Epic Games for a limited time.
Yeah, that's pretty wild to me. It's pretty wild.
And like Discord will ask for your debit card info or PayPal so you can renew it. It'll auto renew for you. But one, you can put an empty prepaid card, right? And it's like just gonna decline in 3 months. So it's fine. Or you just cancel it immediately and you still have your free thing, but it won't renew. It's actually very easy to cancel. Literally, you like open Discord, you click Nitro, and it's like a big like thing, and you just click cancel, and that's the end of the thing. So
in film and media, I think the biggest news is that the podcast that I did last week with Ben had a whole section on AMC and theaters, and I just want to say my ideas are fire. So what you got to do for me is go back to that podcast. You don't even have to listen to it if you don't have the time. Click the share button. Post it on Twitter and at AMC. Or if you're on Instagram, wherever you are and AMC is, share that at them. And I'm telling you, if they can follow like maybe 10% of the advice that I give, we'll have cinema back. So if you love movies, check out the last podcast that I did. It's really important because the tides are shifting like rapidly. Like Amazon buying MGM, probably it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, you know, essentially. The only last custodian of film that is originally a filmmaker is Universal and Paramount, technically. But Paramount's on its last leg of life. It's probably going to get eaten up or go bankrupt, within the next 5 years. And there's also like Lionsgate, but Lionsgate is extremely tiny and they're not making good moves either. Pretty much Universal's the only one left. And Universal is really on its proprietary IP game right now. That's really what they're just like honing it on entirely.
What about
and, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter. No, sorry, not Harry Potter. Because that's Harry Potter's Warner Brothers. But they have had the rights to Harry Potter for their theme parks. What else do they have? I have really random stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Can't think off the top of my head. But I have a bunch of... I'm sure there's many that I'm stupidly forgetting. But they have many franchises, and they're just focusing on that. And they might become a stream only, like a streaming favoring creator as well. So what all that to say is Amazon buying MGM is like such a big inflection point. I cannot emphasize it enough. MGM was tiny. It's a holdings company. So it's not really about that. It's about the fact that whatever MGM was owning in terms of titles and properties, like James Bond, if it gets ruined, these are some of the few remaining IPs that people actually want to go watch, if a new one came out. I don't know how many IPs are left, and I don't think we should be relying on IPs, but it's kind of our lifeline right now while we try to save cinema. So, no news this week, but the best thing you could do is go to that video. It's called What AMC Theaters Can Do to Save Cinema or something like that. Watch it. If you like it, and share it. Not for me. If you don't want to like it, I don't care. It's not for me. It's because I'm really worried about how things are going with cinema. And I do think that it's a reversible ship if the theaters can take the reins and turn this thing around. So that's my PSA for this week. And they don't care. That's my biggest point, is none of these big players, except maybe Universal, you can make an argument, they don't care movies die, right? Because they're not looking to save an art form. They're looking to make as much money as possible in the way they think they can do that, even if they might be wrong about it, So if they kill cinema in the process, why do they care? They're not tied to the art form. Disney's not tied to the art form, they don't care. So they'll kill it. They'll kill cinemas with streaming, and making endless TV mediocre garbage for until they drive even that medium into the ground, and then they'll take a hold of gaming. Then they'll buy everything. Then they'll drive that medium to the ground because they don't care. It's just another host, to leech off of, essentially. So that's a warning. We need to be loud, and that's what Mixed Media is about, these kinds of conversations.
All right, so make sure to follow us on all the social medias, rel.co/mixedmedia. Find the link to everywhere you can find us. Link is on the screen in case you don't know how to spell it, or if you're on a Spotify audio only thing, auriela.co/mixedmedia, one word of course. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.